welcome to our special series, The Economic Times Cutting Chai Stories, an initiative by ETH. I am Ashwani Mishra, and as part of this initiative, we bring to you conversations with CXOs over a cup of chai as we speak to them about their personal lives, hobbies, and various other engaging topics. I have been joined today by Subhashish Mazumdar, an industry veteran with over 32 years of experience. Subhashish, in his current role, plays a strategy advisor and venture partner role in digital edtech education conglomerates. Welcome, Subhashish.
Thank you, Ashwani. It's been so honoring to be here with Economic Times Cutting Chai. It first of all, it brings quickly a version of when I launched during my career at one point of time in 2003, Chai Pe Charcha in DD Sayadri, and that it still runs. So I'm very happy that this concept is so much catching.
Right. So it
I'm
goes
sipping
long
the
back, you know.
tea. Yeah, I'm sipping the tea with the cutting chai, which is of Mumbai. And, I landed in Mumbai in 1990 after my graduation, post-graduation from IIM Ahmedabad. And I was with Tata Group, and I continued my journey with Bombay in Tata Group, in Hinduja Group, in multinationals. Many episodes happened. But let me just take you a bit backward. How my life, I was born and brought up in Lucknow, a place of biryanis, shairis, Mughals, and also I am a Bengali by birth. It was a very unique Hindi area where I
Yeah.
learned Hindi a lot. I studied in Catholic convent colleges of Colvin Talukdars and Canning College. So it was like the entire areas of all the sectors of so-called religions and thing was so much imbibed that I was literally always felt an Indian at soul and heart. So that was my initial upbringing, and I felt very good to be there. And
Right. So
as you
you
know,
you
I
you did your BSc in from
Canning College, Lucknow University, yeah.
right in
So that
physics,
was my
statistics, and mathematics, I think.
yeah
And then went on to
yeah.
do your
So
MA in economics from Kanpur
yeah,
University.
comprehensive. And yeah, because that point of time, in fact, something very unique happened after my graduation. It was from the main University of Lucknow Center, which was more than 100 years old building. It was very unique. But as you know, I had to quickly see, because the concept that time was to become a IAS officer or a probationary officer of a bank. And at an early age, I appeared for probationary exam and got selected. In 1983, I got selected immediately after my BSc. And that what happened is that I took the job finally as a POV in Allahabad Bank, in a public sector bank, and I was given a place in Lakhimpur Kheri, which was quite a dominant area with the Sikh community, which is a so strong community in India, and we love it, sugarcane belts and things like that. I joined, that was my first job in October 1984. Immediately, I
Right.
was a bit underage. As you know, you can see that time my age was not even 21, and I had a bit of issue. But I loved to somehow I managed to convince the management along with other seniors help that okay, I can start the work now because they wanted. And October 1, I started, and it was in place called Lakhimpur Kheri. But something very eventual happened at that point of time. If you recall, I was given a charge of a branch manager also very quickly within a month, and I was like an assistant branch manager also at that point of time. On a day of 31st October, you all recall that deadly day. What happened?
Yeah. Right.
Mrs. Gandhi was assassinated, and I was very young that point of time. I did not know what happened, and it was a huge rush. But the kind of memories of love, sympathy, accommodation which happened with the entire community at that place. It was a smaller place. I felt that India has a long way to go. I mean, it was such a daring thing that happened. I got hugely nervous. We had to all rush in the trains back, walked out some 7-8 kilometers, curfew all over, and we felt that okay, in the starting point of career, why it happened, how it happened. So a lot of nurturing happened from that point of time. During that time I continued to work for the bank, and that is where I did my economics also through another university where I had to. It was like a semi-correspondence. I have to attend only some classes and some I can manage. So I completed that also. But the bank thing was something which taught me a lot of management and corporate lessons already, even without entering the MBA. And it taught me what happens when a new product like a banking was conceptually quite new to the areas. The credit were heard as if you have to only give some kind of a percentage for getting a credit, etc. So those kind of things were something which I was completely surprised. So what I did is that I tried to build up the bank. I got the award for the best branch in that area from my local chairman. And then finally, I felt that possibly I should be able to do much more, because luckily I had a very good background of Hindi, English, communication, everything. And a lot of people suggested that you should try to go for more India roles, all India roles and things. It was also all India role, but so that is where I appeared for CAT. That point of time, CAT was much new in the that side of time, and got through IIM Ahmedabad. And again,
Very interesting, So, Subhashish, you had a government job in place, and then you decided to,
yeah,
appear for a CAT exam and join the MBA course. Not an MBA. I'm sure IIM doesn't call it an MBA course, but
yeah,
how easy was it for you to move? To give up a government
yeah,
job, and especially in a place like Uttar Pradesh, where a government job is
absolutely,
held
absolutely.
in very
Yeah,
high
Mr.
regards.
Ashwini. Yeah, that was the event of my life, which I was so surprised. And obviously, I also realized that all my family, my friends, my peers, my own peers of my own college, everybody said, how can you leave a probationary officer job, which is a government officer's job, not even a clerical job that point of time? And I was a branch manager, and you can go for studies to pay some money out and study for 2 years. And many people, people did not know much about CAT MBA, because honestly, I had got through Lucknow MBA also, by the way, and another Chandigarh MBA, which I did not join that point of time, because I thought maybe, and that is how the CAT thing came up. But when it was CAT, I did my own local research. There was no Google that point of time, and realized that it is something we should go. And then I convinced, but it was something very, very unequal. And even today, a lot of my senior relatives still feel that, oh, he took a call, it was so unique, we never knew about it. So when I went finally, so it was done. And finally from Lucknow, I came to Ahmedabad to do my post graduation program in the management, which was like a epitome of integration of the education, personality, abilities, everything. So when I people talk to me about worshiping and religions and all that, for me, I believe my temple continues to be I am Ahmedabad, because the it's like a temple which teaches and integrates your ability and personality to a level, not only management, it makes you a man. And I think that is what I should tell everybody, that such institutes, there are many in India and abroad also. I think whenever somebody goes, he should consider it as a most prolific place of your life building, and as a temple, kind of, whether you say any kind of temple of any religious faith, and that is something unique. It has no religion at all, but it's a temple. So that is where I learned and integrated my life and career in a way, built my hobbies. I started writing. I was a member of writing the articles and prose and poems even in that point of time. So you can do a lot of activities apart from your own management. Obviously, you can play cricket, you can play softball, you can have teams. So it was a lot of unique thing at that point of age, when you thought that your life has started with the jobs and you have to continue. It was a relearning experience, and that nourished me to possibly, and it was very tough, as you know, that in that place I learned that all the IT toppers and gold medalists are ensured to give a D or F, which is a fail situation in the initial first couple of tests. And everybody has to go through the highs and ups in those kind of a institute. So that taught us a lot, that how we should take the strain of the corporate life. And around that time, obviously, it was unique, and I came to Mumbai and I started my corporate life. Again, the unique thing in coming from
Joined
Lucknow to Ahmedabad to,
you joined Rallis, I guess, after I.
yeah, so I joined the Tata Group, and Tata Group put me in the Rallis Tata Chemicals combined, because that point of time the merger thing was already being talked of many years. And as you know, today it is a single part. Tata Chemicals and Rallis are a part, same part. So we were basically a part of that same. So I started my life in Raleigh House, which is in the near Sterling Cinema in Mumbai. I'm happy to say that that has become a TCS house today, which is something so unique. That building, it was a building of 1930 or 40 by the Raleigh brothers of Britain, and it was given taken to Tata's, and Tata's took it under Tata Chemicals and Rallis, and now today is a TCS house. So it again gives a lot of proud right there. but more importantly, that group is again something enriching. I feel that these are my life builders, and honestly, personality and entire hobby or anything kind of building happened because of these sets. Because when I was in Tata, I again learned that this is one group which honestly talks of everything and anything, and it can give a compassionate view of professionals in a different way. I was given a role to go to Russia for 20 days, 25 days alone, and to Latvia for a unique deal of barter of Tata Tea, Tata Chemicals, and rallies, for example. But something more eventful happened that point of time in my personal life. You recall in Mumbai, 1993, March again. That was the day I got married in 93 February. And first time, my wife is from North India. She's from Delhi, Meerut side. So she was coming first time to Mumbai by a train. That time the flights were not so much in picture. We are coming by a first class train because we had a lot of luggage. And when we are coming, that was the day the blast all over Mumbai took place, the first terrorist attack, if you recall. I think it was 12th March or
12th of
13th March,
March. Right.
12th March. And that really made me, although somehow we managed to come in the night, we'll get out, and finally we went to the guest house and all. But it was, I felt really teary those 2 3 days when I felt the entire Mumbai has changed. And it was not for the job, it was for the city which I loved so much in just 3 years. And I saw the entire city change. And that point of time itself, I felt myself that this city will take years to recover. And this is a city, as you know, of spirit, as you know, of strength. And that's why my love for that city was from the day I landed. And that is the time when we felt that something happened. And that was the experience which happened on a day when my partner of life joined. And she was, so again, so that thing built up, and we try to build up our own. We used to go to the Nariman points and beaches regularly to make sure that we feel comfortable. And that is how I love beaches, I love the sea, we all love the sea. And that is how the Bombay's spirit kept it alive. And I continued with the Tata Group. Then I started my career second leap to multinational, which was Ron Polank Hex, which became Aventis and now Bayer. That point of time, I was, because being a Bengali, I was given another assignment which was unique in my life, to go to East India, that is Calcutta, and handle the entire East India. Because I know Bengali, I told the management I have never worked in Calcutta and East India, so please. He said, doesn't matter. And that is exactly what happened, because I can tell you without getting
You were in
into
for a shock
I
in
know.
Calcutta.
Yeah, so I know every country and every city has its own place and everybody has own riches. But the work culture in East India, that point of time in Calcutta, I found it very amazing. And honestly, I said that possibly you have to change the entire methodology of working right from morning to evening. And that is where I was considered that I'm not a Bengali at all, this guy has come from Bombay. And so yes, but I'm happy that I did build the passion of them to see that work is different and work is fine. We turned around the entire company that point of time in the region. I became the best region in the country to have. So many good thing happens, and I was kept there for 4 years. My elder son was born in Calcutta Woodlands Hospital, which is the prime hospital there. So some good things happened in every part of my career at that point of time. And I traveled a lot. I have traveled, luckily, in these first 10 years, especially, and even later, almost every nook and corner of the country and every state. So much so that, all the so-called smaller towns of Andhra Pradesh, Punjab, East India, whether it's a Bihar or West Bengal or Odisha, and places in North, whether it was UP and MP. So it was a huge travel, and that I loved it, and I was obviously strained. I don't know what happens in today's career when people come out from MBAs and other places, but we were told and we were given, because I was very much touched by Mr. Rusi Modi's word, one of the ex-Tata doyen, that you have to dirty your hands when you join anything, whatever you may be. And same thing with Mr. Ratan Tata also. So I think we used to start working from 6 a.m. in the morning and come back at almost midnight, running all over the place, covering 400 kilometers in a day at times. These were learnings not only for career but for a personality and life also, because this makes you so sturdy and good that I feel that sometimes, I feel, not always, sometimes I feel in today's new era of new generation, they are intelligent lot, but sometimes that diligence sometimes gets lacking. and they feel that this is too hard a work to do. I can get an easier way to handle and get money. But yes, you can always get, but at the same time, when you do certain thing diligently, it is all imbibed in yourself. I think that is the learning which I quickly also had during all my career of the multinationals rallies. And then I again came back to Tata's in a group called Tata Finance, Tata Home Finance. We launched the Tata Home Finance, and we were a young team working from Pune as the headquarters, and did a huge work all around. Again, life teaches you a lesson every time, or the teaches you a story every time. And that story happened, which is something unique. The group I always loved and still love it as the one of the most unique groups in the world, possibly. Something which never happens in that group, a kind of a financial misappropriation happened by their MD that point of time, who was in Mumbai. And Mr. Ratan Tata, obviously, very, very concerned, and he doesn't want, how ethical he is. So he felt that, he should just stop for the time being all the retail financial businesses, which included the banking license plan, the credit card plan, the home finance plan, and things like that. And that is where he wanted to kind of hand over the company to some other group, etc. So I came back to Mumbai, and that point of time we handed over to IDBI. But luckily, I mean, I thought I should be back in Mumbai to start. So I restarted, although I was very much a part of the home finance, but because of the fear of the city and the conditions, I thought to be in Bombay and change my group to initially a FMCG group and then finally to Hinduja group. But you can say the love affair with the Tata group of almost 6-7 years, which I had in my initial career, really built me. So wherever I used to go, I mean, I should tell you that that point of time when I was moving out of Tata's, I got 8 to 10 interviews, and almost everybody was willing to take me. And I was a bit concerned how to decide, because some jobs were out of Mumbai, some jobs were lower, higher, Indian, non-Indian, all those things happened. So I was a bit confused, and that's why I continued to have a short time with the FMCG group. And then finally, when the Hinduja group came in, which I came to know it was a prominent group, I joined them finally, which was then. But even to them, the owners of the Hinduja group very well know that my first love always remains Tata's, and I used to tell them in many of my meetings also. And honestly, we also said that we should imbibe some of the cultures and methods and ethics from that group, and we tried to bring some of the ethos there in that group. So every time I started and did my work profile, I also learned lessons of my life, my hobbies. I continue to be an avid traveler all over. I used to learn in terms of my own personal levels in the traveling, whether in India. India, so I have traveled almost every place. Then also I started traveling abroad by official groups in the Asian countries, and then later on in the European countries with the Hinduja group, because in the France, I entered into the industry of the digital era to digitalize the entire TV industry and the electronic industry and the journalism industry, what you're doing in that way, to completely do it. And that is where I used to travel to France, MIPCOM, which MIPCOM and MIPTV, which arranges the content and for every genre to handle it and bring it to the country, etc. So I was happy to bring 2 channels into India, which is still running very well, Russia Today and Arirang TV, Russia Today of Russia and Arirang TV of Korea. And then continued my work with the distribution and digitalization impact with the Hinduja group. Had leadership role, luckily, right from 2000 when I joined Tata Finance. I was already CXO from that point of time. So I am proud and privileged to have the CXO role right from 2000, actually, when I became the CMO. And since that time, I have been a COO, SVP, or the director, etc., continuously. And I continue to give a huge work in the digital sector, which is now my baby in that way, because I did interact with the government ministry, the TRAI, which was our sector regulator. And in all cases, I found that there is a huge thing to do that time and even today. You heard Mr. Ashwani yesterday that the OTT and the internet content is now under some kind of a regulation. You must have seen that issue, which was an issue of debate for many years, which I was handling that point of time when the digitalization happened. I don't want to comment in this kind of a forum, but I can only tell you, the entire digitalization space of content, news, journalism, talks, communication will go through many, at times, you can say, tectonic changes as we move on, and things will be much, much brighter in this kind of a sector. and that is the sector I handle. And luckily, what happened is that when I was doing a lot of work in the media sector, I got in touch with the education sector because I was involved as a task force member to handle the launch of Swam Prabha channels for education with the Ministry of HRD, which was launched 32 channels much before COVID times. This was from 2014-15 onwards, and those channels finally launched in the DTH, and some other DTH platforms and other things. And I believe in COVID times, 3-4 channels have been taken as a very premium channels from them. But I also finally went to for a short period in the education sector as a top management person for a very large university in North India, which was having some 600 acres of land and 48,000 students and 23 disciplines. So I was the director general operations for 1 year till the COVID times came in, and I came back to Mumbai and started working from home from them. But finally, I thought that it is not fair on my part to continue there. I should have been there. So I have again recently switched over to the roles with the large, you can say, global international groups like ENY and now KPMG, and some of the international groups on the content and education technology side, where I am doing the roles of both on the education technology on online and technology delivery for online classes, on the proctoring system of the education. So a lot of technological requirements I am handling, both on the digital content side. Same thing with the content side. I am although aggregating the content, but I continue to interact and have a strategic consulting advisory roles as a consulting partner now to more than 3 or 4 organizations, including the big four ones. And I am empaneled in KPMG and ENY for handling all the digital media projects which are coming in, and I will be happy to continue to do them. Plus, I have my own. So, in a nutshell, I have been able to kind of see the life with the stories of various features which happen. My hobbies of writing and prose continue to be still there. My hobbies of traveling continue to be massively. I am one thing which me and my family is missing now is suddenly this COVID time that traveling has been held on. Last year I went to Europe with my family for the key countries of Switzerland, Italy, and France. And when the COVID thing started in Italy, I was shocked. I said I was just there 8 months back. That was in May 2019. And from December onwards, we started hearing that something is happening in Italy and then France. In fact, my son is in Spain doing an MBA in sports management. It's still after doing his EC. So I think we love the international pattern of globalization of this world, where India, I think, should lead, and all of us, whether we are from this generation or the younger generation, all of us have a duty to move on. I don't consider that age is a factor. That is something which I always feel. Yes, the young generation has the right to do a lot of good things at 20 years, 21 years, which I also did. But at the same time, people with experience and who have been able to do and who are keeping them fit in life in terms of health, etc., should be able to give more to the society in general, whether it is the private sector or government sector. And I feel, and that's exactly my mission has been, and it will be now, to continue to give my all my abilities of my career, of my learning, of my life to the sectors which need a societal impact. And that is how the education sector continues to be interesting one, where I will continue to help. I am in touch with a couple of universities to give them help in kinds of some courses which can be a privately owned courses like AI and machine learning. Also give them some online methods, give them some technology benefits. I think people will be willing for change. Similarly, in the digital sector, the OTT sector will see a transformation. What kind of content should come? How the journalism or the news? They have used the word news to be kind of also regulated. So I think those are the very tricky matters. How this world will happen, but you cannot stop the digitalization part, which was my baby since 17 years back when I entered the field of it. And I think that that is a long way to go. Yes, we have to self-regulate ourselves and to work out how we should move ahead with various content deliveries, whether it's education, whether it is the news, whether it is the sports, whether it is the entertainment. I think we should try to develop a complete sense of business ability, employment, knowledge from all these sectors. And as you know, that these all gets linked to the new technologies of AI. That is how Alexa developed. That is how the Google is developing these things. So I think the entire chain is networked all over the place. And I feel very happy that, my personal desires of songs, of entertainment, of traveling, of even journalism. Incidentally, I do write in some of the trade magazines, not as a journalist, but more as a industry expert, to say that what all things will happen and what should happen in the sectors of education, industry, media. So I think those hobbies will continue, and I try to myself be fit by having good walks in nearby Mumbai parks and Juhu Beach and things like that. I stay very close to Juhu Beach, which has been cleaned up thanks to Amitabh Bachchan and a lot of other people who helped to do it. So I think so those things will continue, and now this is my city of domicile. And many people have told me, because in between I went last year out of Mumbai in Punjab to work for 1 year. Possibly that did not work out so well because of the natural factors also which happened. And now I plan to more work from Mumbai and travel all around India and world wherever necessary, and give my benefits to everybody, and continue to have my hobbies and interest alive, to give it back. And obviously, this cutting chai is something which I love. I had this in the Nariman Point several times with the same glass.
Right, right. I know, Subhashish. So you've not allowed me to speak for the last 15
Yeah,
minutes, and I've let
yeah.
you
I'm
go
sorry. Yeah,
crazy.
so you can go ahead.
I
Yeah,
know, I know, I know. It's very passionate when you can't when in a short span of time there is no, you can't explain the overall journey that
yeah,
you've gone
yeah,
through
yeah,
these
yeah,
three
yeah,
decades, over 3 decades.
yeah,
So right from joining Allahabad Bank to going to IIM,
yeah,
Ahmedabad, moving to Rallis, and then
yeah,
various other industries that you have
yeah.
had the opportunity to work with. Uh, you've also been very gung ho about the CSR activities that you do.
Yeah,
So you
absolutely,
still continue
absolutely.
to do that, or
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know,
no, very much. I have been a part of the CSR group of Hinduja Group and even earlier Tata Group. I continue to align. I have been part of Rotary International, if you see, and have done a lot of CSR works. In fact, there is a water project going on with the Hinduja Group earlier, where I'm still working on. Plus, I do work with any CSR activity of any group, wherever feasible, through Rotary and from some other factors. There are smaller areas, in Bombay. We have this Hinduja hospital where I'm connected because of my earlier efforts, and they organize a lot of other works, including the during the religious festival, like in Dashera, Durga Puja, and all that. We continue to do in a small way, big way. But that is again my passion, which I continue to work it on, and give all those works I did for the old age home, for example. I continue to participate in an old age home in Lucknow, where unfortunately my mother had expired in my last part of her life. So I have become a member there for all their charitable requirements, whatever way I can help personally and otherwise group. So those works I continue to do it, and I'm very passionate about the CSR works as well, and will be more keen to do in a bigger role wherever it comes in.
anything that you have missed out on this whole professional journey, Subhash? Any regrets that you have? Something that you wished you had done, and
Yeah, I think I won't say regret, because at the end of it, you have to take the so-called blame or thing on yourself. But I do feel that, there have been points and times of my career when I possibly took, which I recall some of my very seniors, that point of time, managing directors and the directors' words, that possibly I became sometimes a bit, you can say, non-patient, because those point of time when I used to think that 4 years, 5 years is enough, that was not enough. Because for you take Tata Group, for example, I remember when I was leaving them, the managing director in a cabin of 1,000 square feet room, he called me for 1 hour. He used to report to Mr. Ratan Tata and Mr. I think Darbari said that point of time, who was Tata Chemical, very two doyen people. So he honestly gave me such a emotional lecture and discussion. He literally made me cry. He said, Subhashish, you may think after many years. So I sometimes remember his words that, maybe some of the steps I took may not be regretting, but yes, the world would have been a different for me if I would have not taken the decision on my own, some of them. Because in nowhere in my career, I was kind of asked to move on because of the company problems or my personal problems. That is a big plus for me. But all the decisions I have taken on my own. You can say a bit adventurous. I love incidentally adventure. I'm a very adventurous guy when I try to do my own personal things in my life. So possibly one small regret is that I did a bit of adventure with my career from that angle. and some of my peers who are there, possibly, they may be doing a much bigger work than me, what I'm doing from that angle. I do feel so. That is the only part which I feel. But again, it's a life, it's adventure. Whatever we have gained or lost, we should just cherish it, and try to do more.
Right. So it's not a regret, it's more of things that you could have done a bit differently in that way.
Yeah, and possibly at a higher level. Honestly, let us be very frank about the reality of things. I might have been at a different level altogether if I had not been impatient for a while in the initial 10, 12 years.
Right, Subhashish, so you were given early responsibilities, and bigger roles to play, wherever
Yeah,
you went, there was some
yeah,
added responsibility that you were assigned to. Somewhere
yeah.
in your career, did you emerge as the go-to man or the man Friday, if I may call, for
Yeah,
any
yeah,
of
I
the
think, yeah,
employers
that
that come?
happened. Absolutely. Yeah, yeah. In fact, that happened, although it used to happen in initially even in Rallis and Tata Chemical days, when people were not aware of the so-called computerization, when they were not aware how to work the Excel sheets. And I honestly taught my director, who's a very prominent guy, you can Google him, called Mr. Hardeep Singh. He was from Stephens College. He became the chairman of Cargill Group in India, and then he's a very prominent guy. Still, he must be 70. So, even a man like him, he said, Subhashish, you can teach me Excel and details and all that. So, we used to spend time. But later on in my life, especially when I was in Hinduja Group, I think it became an issue that absolutely anything which happens, I became a Man Friday person. Because, for example, there are instances that when North India for Hinduja Group was burning for the media sector business, so they just told me that you have to go and you just ensure that you either turn around or you close that entire shop of that region. So again, thanks to everything, and I went on my own without my family, etc. And within 1.5 2 years, I turned around that, made the best business possible, and left it at that, and then came back to Mumbai. Similarly, whenever there was an issue of PR communication with the government, with the TRI, with international, with any new, when I mean, I should tell you two, three interesting things. When Comcast, which has never come to India, which is the largest distribution group in US, they came and tried up with. So I was one of the person. But more interestingly, I should tell you, which is a very confidential thing I can open out here. When Amazon was coming into India, I think it was 2006, 7 or something like that, 7, 8. They had one of the first meetings with our Hinduja group, and I was a part of that management committee to work it out. And I recall that, some of us, including me, we told the promoter that, sir, this is a unique time. You may not feel, that time some of the promoters felt, these are just, e-commerce thing. We also have a shopping channel in the television. So what happens in that? That kind of feeling was coming from some of the other so-called classical senior groups. But we knew that something unique. So Amazon had 3 days of work with us. They were willing to tie up with us. So just imagine, even from a corporate side, sometimes you miss out those buses. And then Amazon went on alone, I know. But
That's a missing
Amazon what?
opportunity,
Yeah,
so.
yeah. So such things happened, and I was a kind of a requirement for the group, especially my 17 years of Hinduja group, where I was like a complete man Friday. I was in the corporate office throughout, and I was handling whether, like UP investment issue. I used to go from the group side, whether it's Ahmedabad investment requirement, Punjab investment, Punjab. So all these things I used to coordinate directly, and the CSR things. So it was a requirement for any problem issues, any handling issues, and it brought out in me much, you can say, confidence, abilities, and abilities to see that I can handle almost all diverse sectors also. That becomes a very prime. Luckily, I have peers because of my earlier very good schooling in the Lucknow, and even later on I have my peers and friends, honestly, all over the industry, at all levels, and at you can say big levels. For example, my peer, just 1 year senior, who my good friends, like Edelweiss chief Rashesh Shah, or Naukri.com chief Sanjeev Bikchandani, or Nirmal Jain. So they were around that time. Make My Trip chief, so these are some of the guys who really did so great and did on the entrepreneurship time. Deep Kalra and people like that. And again, it still goes on. But still, those were the times. That time, the entrepreneurship was not seen as such a big group, and they have really done well. Similarly, I have so that always gives me ability to move around. I have a lot of my friends of my earlier Lucknow batch who are in the IAS and IPS. So again, they are in the government also. So it gives me an overall, because when we talk, we don't talk official, incidentally. All this friend circle, we have many groups of IMs and schools and colleges. You see our chat, it look like some 18-year-old kids talking to each other. And they are all at levels of somebody secretary, somebody MD, somebody, so we feel very happy about it, that we do not talk anything so-called official or work related to each other, whoever it is and what, unless somebody really wants something, can talk separately and work. So I think that is how the world has done, and we feel confident, and that is where I think the abilities to be even a diverse sector area and the man Friday situation, all these issues do help. And I have faced all those issues in my career and life, and that's why I feel very, very at ease to see any kind of, I mean, honestly, I interacted with the UP chief minister twice, personal level, on behalf of Hinduja group, and I find him quite interesting person, whatever you say. Now, from the business side, I never knew that he has so many business thoughts. I was once interacting again from the Hinduja side on their behalf for the Assam chief minister. Not really as a journalist, partially as a journalist, because the journalists were following me and they wanted to take a bite from them and him both. So, I mean, I found that, some of the leaders have the ability, but sometimes they may not have the right people around at times. I came to realize that one of the CMs again in UP, he has surrounded himself by professional groups of the global groups of ENY and PwC and all that. So that also brings ability. So I think it is how you take it. Same thing, honestly, for journalism, same thing for communication. You have to keep some professional levels for the industry growth for now, and that is possibly coming out now with the new governments. All the governments are trying to see that there is a sense in madness to see the development side and the professional side much easier. So things will continue to happen of political reasons here and there, but the reality is that groups like ET, groups like Times. Again, I have a huge love for Times group. I had my several friends in the Times group and ET group. Still they are there, and again this has again given me a lot. I used to meet Mr. Guha in Times of India group, for example, and some other groups interaction. So I think these groups have really even some of the groups which I didn't got a chance to work. I would have loved to work with them also, but I didn't get a chance. But I have always got inspired by such groups. Again, Bennett Coleman Times is one of the groups like that. So and let us be very honest about whom we get inspired about. So I have no hesitation to say that because there are certain groups like Tatas or Bennett Colemans, or now I have seen Hinduja, and there are a couple of my other group like SDFC and all that. They are something which gives a huge inspiration. I'm hugely inspired by, for example, Wipro's Mr. Asim Premji, where a lot of my friends are working. The way he gives the CSR things, for example. So I think these have all taught us to see the life in a different perspective.
Right, right. I think, in the interest of time, Devashish will have to cut it short here.
Yeah.
So very interesting insights that you have shared, not only from a professional, but also, bringing the government piece and how these governments are evolving to get more inclusive thought process within
Absolutely.
their administration.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Subhashish, for sharing your journey and the learnings and the passion with which you have, executed the various roles that you have been given. All the very best. That was Subhashish Mazumdar speaking with us. We will catch up soon with another episode of Cutting Chai Stories. Thank you.